Hi Reddit. I'm Jake. I'm 29, and this is the story of how my boss tried to screw me over and ended up screwing himself harder than he could have imagined. Let's get one thing clear. I'm not lazy. I show up on time. I do my job. I don't complain when things get busy, but I also know my worth. And I don't work for free. At least, not anymore. I work for a mid-sized logistics company. Nothing fancy. Mostly managing warehouse schedules, intake reports, and making sure inventory moves smoothly from trucks to shelves. The job isn't glamorous, but it pays all right. Or used to before things got weird. The guy in charge? Let's call him Carl. Late 40s, shiny suit, fake smile, always pretending he's everyone's buddy. But behind closed doors, a micromanaging control freak who thrives on squeezing every drop of energy from his employees and calling it team spirit. Anyway, about a month ago, one of the night shift managers quit out of nowhere. Just left a sticky note on his locker and vanished. Carl called it unprofessional, but everyone knew the guy was being worked into the ground. So what does Carl do? He doesn't hire a replacement. He calls me into his office the next morning. Jake, he says, I know you're reliable. You've always had leadership potential. I need you to step up for a few days. Just cover some of the late shifts until we find someone new. I said, okay, sure, but just to be clear, that's overtime, right? He gave me that used car salesman smile. We'll talk about that later. No. I said, no, Carl. We'll talk about it now. He waved his hand like I was being difficult. Come on, man. We're all in this together. Your salary. Take one for the team. Wrong. I'm hourly, not salary. And he damn well knew that. I'm not working extra hours without extra pay. I said flat out. Not happening. He leaned forward, all serious now. Jake, you want to grow in this company? These are the moments that define people. I stared at him. No. These are the moments that get people exploited. He wasn't used to being told no. His face twitched, just for a second. Then he leaned back and forced a chuckle. Okay. We'll figure something out. I left his office knowing exactly what was coming next. Spoiler. It didn't take long. Next day, I checked the schedule. Guess what? I'm listed for back-to-back shifts. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., then again from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. the same night. No overtime noted. No extra pay. No warning. Just a name on a screen. That's when I knew this was war. And Carl, he had no idea who he was messing with. I didn't say a word that morning. Didn't storm into Carl's office. Didn't send a dramatic email. Didn't even mention the schedule update to anyone. I just looked at that stupid 14-hour split on the screen, nodded to myself, and clocked in. Let the man dig his own grave. I worked my full morning shift, did everything by the book. No shortcuts. No slacking. Around 7 p.m., I clocked out, packed up, and walked right past Carl's office without making eye contact. He saw me. He knew I saw him. But neither of us said anything. I went home, took a nap, ate dinner, then came back at 11 p.m. like I was supposed to. Carl wasn't there, of course. He never stays late. But the overnight floor lead, Marcus, looked confused when I walked in. Didn't expect to see you tonight, he said. You're pulling a double? I nodded. Apparently. You good with that? Nope. That's all I said. I kept it short. Didn't need to overshare. Just plant the seed. I finished the night shift. Every box, every log, every minute accounted for. Again, by the book. And when my shift ended at 4 a.m., I clocked out, went home, and got to work. Not at the warehouse, at my desk. See, what Carl forgot is that I've worked there for 4 years. I know the policies. I know HR system. I know exactly how many hours I've worked. And I know how to document unpaid labor violations. Even better, I had receipts, screenshots of my schedule, timesheets, emails, texts, everything. And the cherry on top? Security footage. The warehouse cameras show me clearly working that overnight shift. Sorting, scanning, assisting drivers. Zero chance Carl could claim I didn't show up. So I put together a report. Timeline, documentation, policy violations, screenshots, state labor law citations, all neatly organized into a PDF I titled, Unauthorized Overtime, Employee Concern Submission. I sent it to HR at 9:05 a.m., right after clocking in. 2 hours later, Carl called me into his office. Jake, he said, faking a smile so hard it looked painful. Hey, got your email forwarded to me. Bit of a misunderstanding, huh? I sat down. Calm. Not really. I said. I worked those hours. I wasn't paid for them. It's a legal issue now. Carl shifted in his seat. No need to go that far. We can handle this internally. Exactly, I said. That's why I filed it internally first. He stared at me. This is the kind of thing that can damage a company's reputation. I added. Unpaid labor's not a good look. He leaned forward. Look, I'm willing to make this right. Let's add those hours to your next check and call it even. I shrugged. Sounds fair, but I'll need it in writing. HR copy included. He wasn't expecting that. See, Carl was used to people backing down the moment he threw them a crumb. But I wasn't there for crumbs. I wanted the whole system to see what he did. And believe me, this was just the beginning. For a few days, everything seemed quiet. Too quiet. Carl processed the overtime pay. HR confirmed I'd be compensated in the next paycheck. I got an email from payroll with an apology for the scheduling confusion. Textbook damage control. No one wanted to admit fault, but they also didn't want a legal mess. I played it cool. Came in, did my work, smiled like nothing had happened. But I knew Carl. He wasn't going to let this go. The man had an ego the size of our entire loading dock. And someone like me, a low-tier employee in his eyes, making him look bad, that wasn't something he'd forget. And sure enough, the retaliation started. First, he removed me from a project I'd been leading for 3 months. No warning, no explanation, just reassigned to someone with half my experience. Then, my shift schedule got shuffled. Random late starts, pointless split shifts, just enough to mess with my sleep cycle, but not enough to raise a formal complaint. The final straw? He started nitpicking everything I did. Sent me emails with concerns about my tone in meetings. CC'd my supervisor in messages that used phrases like needs improvement and not a team player. Classic corporate sabotage. I wasn't surprised, but I was ready. See, what Carl didn't know is that I had been tracking everything since day one. Every weird schedule change, every passive-aggressive email, every random assignment change. I had timestamps, backups, even audio recordings from team huddles where he casually threw shade at me. And I wasn't the only one he'd treated like this. After that whole overtime situation, people started coming to me. Quietly. In the break room. In the parking lot. And maybe on lunch breaks. Turns out, Carl had been pulling the same stunts on others for years, but nobody wanted to risk their job by speaking up. I wasn't afraid. I knew how to play this game, and now I wasn't playing alone. So I started building something bigger. Not just a complaint. A pattern. Retaliation. Targeted scheduling. Favoritism, unpaid hours, a clear abuse of position, and a toxic work environment. I gathered everything. Dates, names, witnesses. Then I reached out to an employment rights group anonymously. They loved it. Keep documenting, they said. And whatever you do, don't react emotionally. Let him hang himself with his own rope. So I did exactly that. I kept smiling, kept nodding, kept showing up on time and doing my job. I gave Carl nothing to use against me. No attitude, no lateness, just clean, documented, polite compliance. But inside, I was loading the gun, and Carl, he had no clue the bullet had his name on it. 2 weeks later, I had everything I needed. My digital folder had over 70 pieces of evidence, schedule screenshots, HR email threads, audio clips, witness statements, even a few messages Carl accidentally sent to the wrong people. Every passive-aggressive move was logged, time-stamped, and neatly labeled. But I wasn't going to HR again. No, this time I went higher. Our company's corporate office had a compliance division, separate from HR. They didn't care about workplace politics. They cared about liability. And I knew Carl's behavior wasn't just annoying. It was costly. So, I filed an internal ethics complaint. Anonymous, of course. Detailed. Structured. Professional. I outlined everything from the forced overtime, to the retaliation, to the way Carl manipulated scheduling to punish employees. Then I hit send, and I waited. It didn't take long. 4 days later, the regional manager, a guy named Bennett I'd only seen twice in person, walked into our warehouse unexpectedly. No email, no notice. Just showed up, clipboard in hand, face serious. Carl looked like he'd seen a ghost. Bennett didn't smile, didn't shake hands, just walked past everyone and went straight into Carl's office. Door shut, glass walls. Whole floor went quiet. I pretended not to watch, but everyone was watching. After about 40 minutes, Carl came out red-faced, avoiding eye contact. Bennett stayed behind, reviewing something on his tablet. A few minutes later, he started calling people into a conference room, one by one. And not just managers. Us. The warehouse workers. I got called in right before lunch. "Jake, thanks for taking the time," he said calmly. I sat down, keeping my face blank. "We're doing a follow-up on some internal process concerns," he said. "Everything you say stays confidential." I nodded. "Sure." Then he asked, "Has there been any change in your schedule or treatment at work since raising concerns about unauthorized overtime?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "Yes, a lot of changes." I gave him dates, names, times, facts, not opinions, not drama, just hard, cold truth. He listened, took notes, never interrupted. When I finished, he nodded. "Thank you. That's all for now." By the end of the day, half the building had gone through that room. Carl didn't come out of his office again. That night, people were buzzing in the group chats. Everyone knew something was happening. Some were scared, others excited. But me? I was calm. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. Carl had made a habit of pushing people around, thinking no one would ever push back. He forgot one thing. People talk. And when enough people talk with proof, no title can save you. The next morning, something felt different. Carl wasn't in his office. His car wasn't in the lot. No one had seen him clock in. Normally, he was there by 7:30 a.m. sharp, coffee in hand, ready to pretend he cared about team morale. But that day, nothing. People noticed. "Yo, where's Carl?" someone asked in the break room. No one answered. And then Marcus, the floor lead, pulled me aside. "Heard he got pulled into a meeting with legal yesterday after Bennett left," he whispered. Didn't sound casual. I kept my face neutral. "Interesting," I said and walked away. But inside, I was grinning. Later that morning, an email went out from corporate. Subject line, "Internal policy review. All staff participation required." It was short, formal, and clearly written by legal. Everyone had to complete a survey about workplace culture, reporting experiences, and management conduct, anonymously. It was a trap, but not for us. It was a trap for Carl. The questions weren't subtle. Have you experienced retaliation after raising concern? Have you ever been asked to work hours you weren't paid for? Do you feel your manager fosters a respectful and lawful work environment? Everyone knew exactly who the questions were about. By lunch, people were talking. I said everything. One guy said at the vending machine. I told him how Carl made us redo entire shifts for quality control without clocking back in. Another added, I mentioned how he threatened to reconsider hours if I didn't take that Saturday shift. It was like a damn support group. Everyone unloading. Carl still didn't show up. That's when people started connecting the dots. Someone said quietly, "This all started after Jake filed that complaint." I didn't deny it. I didn't confirm it either. I just kept doing my work. Let them think what they want. By 3 p.m., the warehouse manager, technically Carl's boss, came down from upstairs. Rare sight. He called a short meeting with the whole floor staff. Effective immediately, Carl will be taking a leave of absence pending internal review, he said flatly. In the meantime, Marcus will be stepping in for scheduling and shift management. Silence. No gasps. No fake sympathy. Just a weird, heavy calm. People looked at me, but I didn't flinch. Because honestly, I wasn't surprised. Carl wasn't invincible. He was just loud, pushy, and backed by the fear people had of speaking out. Once that fear was gone, he collapsed like a cardboard box in the rain. Carl being gone should have felt like a win. And for a few days, it did. The tension around the warehouse dropped. People walked lighter. Break room laughs actually sounded real for once. Even Marcus seemed more relaxed in his temporary role, like he didn't have someone breathing down his neck 24/7. But I knew something most of them didn't. Carl might have been the problem, but the system that let him be that problem, still intact. So I wasn't done. Not even close. I started working on something bigger. At night, I sat at my desk and wrote a proposal. Not just some emotional rant, not a complaint, but a full-blown internal improvement document. I called it Operational Reform and Accountability Plan. Sounds boring, I know, but it was sharp, focused, clean. In it, I outlined a new scheduling transparency system, a written policy for how overtime is approved and compensated, anonymous whistleblower protections for shift workers, clear consequences for managerial retaliation. I included examples, redacted for privacy, legal references, and even a simple app suggestion to track shift changes. Then I sent it. Not to Marcus. Not to some HR inbox. I sent it directly to Bennett, the regional manager. 2 days later, he called me personally. "Jake," he said, "this is impressive." "Thank you," I replied. "It's not about revenge. It's about making sure no one else gets put through the same crap." "I can tell," he said. "We're reviewing it. And honestly, I think we might run a pilot program off this, starting right here." I didn't expect that. He said he'd be visiting again soon. Wanted to meet in person. The next week, he came in and held a private meeting with me and Marcus. He handed me a printed version of the document, with notes. Actual handwritten notes from corporate leadership. They weren't just reading it. They were taking it seriously. "Carl's not coming back," Bennett said, finally. Just like that. No warning. No drama. Just the sentence we'd all been waiting to hear. "He's been reassigned internally pending HR's final action. But this warehouse is under new leadership now. And you've got a voice here, Jake." I nodded. Try to stay professional. But inside, I was lit up. Not because I got Carl out, but because now, maybe, I could finally help fix the place for everyone else. That's when Marcus looked at me and said, "You know, you ever think about going for management yourself?" I laughed, but I didn't say no. 2 weeks after Carl was officially out, the atmosphere at work was different. Lighter, yes, but also tense in a new way. Because suddenly, people started looking at me. I wasn't just Jake from logistics anymore. I was the guy who got Carl fired, the guy who talks to corporate, the guy who writes policy proposals. At first, I didn't mind. Then I started noticing the whispers. A few coworkers were cold. One guy I used to eat lunch with stopped sitting near me altogether. Another started making sarcastic comments whenever I walked by. "Oh look, it's Mr. Corporate now. Gotta make sure Jake approves this." I knew what it was. Jealousy mixed with fear. People respect you when you stand up for yourself. But they get nervous when you start changing the system they're used to surviving in. I didn't push back. I let it slide. But it got worse. Marcus called me into the office one afternoon. "Hey man," he said, closing the door behind him. "Just a heads up, I've had a couple complaints." I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" "Some folks feel like you're being given special treatment. That you're too close with management now." I sighed. "So, I helped fix a toxic system, and that's the problem now." He held up a hand. "I get it. I'm on your side. Just be aware. Not everyone sees the full picture." That night, I went home and really thought about it. Maybe I had stepped into a spotlight I didn't fully prepare for. Maybe being the one who won made me a target. But what was the alternative? Stay quiet. Let Carl keep abusing power. No chance. The next day, Bennett called again. He told me corporate had approved a trial of my reform plan, and I'd be leading the pilot at our location. Not officially in management, but close. A coordinator role. I accepted. And that's when the real pressure started. People expected answers from me now. Complaints came to me first. Marcus leaned on me to mediate scheduling issues. HR asked for updates. I was no longer just fixing my problem. I was trying to fix everyone's. Some coworkers respected it. Others resented it. One guy, let's call him Dan, cornered me in the break room one night. "You think you're a hero or something?" he said. "No," I answered. "I think I was tired of getting stepped on." He scoffed. "Don't act like you did this for us. You did it for yourself." I didn't argue. Because honestly, he wasn't completely wrong. At first, it was about me. But now, it was bigger. And no amount of side-eye or sarcasm was going to stop me. It started with a missing pallet. Just one. A shipment of electronics that somehow didn't make it onto the manifest. Easy mistake, right? Happens sometimes. But not under my watch. I double-check everything. And this time, I knew I'd logged that delivery. I brought it up to Marcus. "Hey, we're one short from the 3 p.m. truck yesterday. But the camera shows me scanning it in. Something's off." He frowned. "You sure? Positive? Wanting to pull footage?" "Nah," he said. "Let me ask around first." That was a red flag. Later that day, a second issue popped up. An entire bin of handheld scanners got checked out under my employee ID. During a time I wasn't even in the building. Now I knew something was up. Either the system was bugged, or someone was trying to make it look like I was screwing up. Next morning, Bennett called. "Jake, I got a notice from security. 2 internal audit flags hit your profile." "I know," I said. "And it's not me. Someone's playing games. Can you prove that?" "I can try." So I did. I spent 4 hours going through timestamp footage, camera logs, login data. I even found out that one of the scanners was accessed during my therapy appointment, which was on my Outlook calendar and confirmed via location tracking. Whoever was doing this wasn't just sloppy, they were dumb. I built a full timeline and sent it to security. By the end of the day, I got a call from IT. We checked system access. Someone used a generic terminal login, but cross-referenced with building keycard data, and it wasn't you. I said one word. Who? Silence. Then, we can't tell you that directly, but someone from your shift will likely not be returning next week. And just like that, I knew who it was. Dan. Same guy who confronted me in the break room. The one who never liked how I got promoted without earning it. He wanted me out. Wanted to make me look like a fraud. But he underestimated two things. I don't break easily. I've already been through worse. The next morning, his locker was cleaned out. No goodbye. No drama. Just gone. Marcus pulled me aside later that day. Just so you know, some people still don't like the changes. But after this, they respect you now. Even the ones who never said it. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. Because this wasn't a victory. It was survival. And in a place like this, that's everything. It started with a missing pallet. Just one. A shipment of electronics that somehow didn't make it onto the manifest. Easy mistake, right? Happens sometimes. But not under my watch. I double-check everything. And this time, I knew I'd logged that delivery. I brought it up to Marcus. Hey, we're one short from the 3 p.m. truck yesterday. But the camera shows me scanning it in. Something's off. He frowned. You sure? Positive. Wanting to pull footage. Nah, he said. Let me ask around first. That was a red flag. Later that day, a second issue popped up. An entire bin of handheld scanners got checked out under my employee ID during a time I wasn't even in the building. Now I knew something was up. Either the system was bugged, or someone was trying to make it look like I was screwing up. Next morning, Bennett called. Jake, I got a notice from security. 2 internal audit flags hit your profile. I know, I said. And it's not me. Someone's playing games. Can you prove that? I can try. So I did. I spent 4 hours going through timestamp footage, camera logs, login data. I even found out that one of the scanners was accessed during my therapy appointment, which was on my Outlook calendar and confirmed via location tracking. Whoever was doing this wasn't just sloppy. They were dumb. I built a full timeline and sent it to security. By the end of the day, I got a call from IT. We checked system access. Someone used a generic terminal login, but cross-referenced with building keycard data, and it wasn't you. I said one word. Who? Silence. Then, we can't tell you that directly, but someone from your shift will likely not be returning next week. And just like that, I knew who it was. Dan. Same guy who confronted me in the break room. The one who never liked how I got promoted without earning it. He wanted me out. Wanted to make me look like a fraud. But he underestimated two things. I don't break easily. I've already been through worse. The next morning, his locker was cleaned out. No goodbye. No drama. Just gone. Marcus pulled me aside later that day. Just so you know, some people still don't like the changes. But after this, they respect you now. Even the ones who never said it. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. Because this wasn't a victory. It was survival. And in a place like this, that's everything. The final day arrived. I had packed up most of my things and was sitting in my office, staring out the window at the parking lot. The usual hum of the warehouse echoed from the floor below, but there was a strange silence hanging in the air around me. It was like the building itself knew that something important was about to shift. I glanced at the clock. It was almost time to go. Bennett's email had been clear. My relocation would happen fast, and they wanted me in Dallas before the end of the month. I was ready for the move, but I couldn't help feeling a heavy weight on my chest. I had given everything to this job. Everything. But, like Marcus said, I had outgrown it. I had fought for something, torn down old systems, and now it was time for someone else to rebuild what I had left behind. But as I sat there in my empty office, I realized I wasn't just leaving behind a job. I was leaving behind people I'd come to care about. I looked around at the bare walls, the desk that had been my battleground for so long. It felt surreal. As I stood up to grab my bag, I spotted a small stack of papers I had forgotten about. My old notes. The ones I'd written during those early, chaotic days when I first started working here. There were ideas for better systems, complaints about Carl, and reminders of things I had to fix. Something pulled me back to those papers. I didn't want to leave unfinished business. That's when I got the idea. I went down to the warehouse floor, and as I walked through the rows of boxes and equipment, I saw the familiar faces, workers I had come to know over the years. Some of them gave me a quick nod, others barely noticed me. But one thing was certain, they were all working, and working better than ever. It was time to do what I knew needed to be done. I found Marcus, still running around the floor, making sure everything was in order before the night shift started. I called him over. "Hey," I said, holding up the stack of papers. "I'm leaving today. But before I go, I need you to pass something on for me." He raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "I made a list," I said. "A list of things, rules, systems, changes that should never be reversed. It's everything I built, everything we fought for here. No matter who replaces me, this list is non-negotiable." Marcus gave me a thoughtful look. "You're leaving a legacy." I nodded. "Exactly." He took the papers. "I'll make sure it sticks. Don't worry about it." I felt a strange sense of relief. I had done what I came to do. I walked up to the office, where the last of my belongings were packed. As I looked back at the building one last time, I couldn't help but feel like I was walking away from a chapter in my life, but also starting something new. Dallas was waiting for me. The team there needed me to lead them, to shape the next phase of their operations. The challenge was exciting, but I wasn't about to forget what I had left behind. I was never going to forget how Carl tried to break me, or how I'd stood up against the unfair system. But now it was time to move on. The last thing I did before leaving the building was simple. I placed a handwritten note on the main bulletin board for the whole warehouse to see. It said, "Respect is earned, not demanded. Work hard, not because you have to, but because you want to. Keep fighting, keep improving, and never forget your worth." Jake. I didn't stick around to see how they reacted. I didn't need to. I knew it would make an impact. It had to. The future wasn't just about the corporate world, the power struggles, or the money. It was about respect, and that's something I would always fight for. I walked out the door with a clear sense of purpose, and as the sun set over the horizon, I knew that no matter where I went, I had left a mark.